You've always noticed things other people don't. The shift in someone's tone, the inconsistency in a story, the hidden meaning behind a simple sentence. While everyone else laughs, you're analyzing. While everyone else reacts, you're observing. It's not that you're trying to be different. Your mind just moves that way, faster, deeper, further. And yet, in rooms full of people, you often feel like you're the only one there. Why does understanding more make you feel connected less? Growing up, you were probably called mature for your age. Teachers praised your thinking. Adults liked your conversations. You learned to articulate ideas clearly, to question assumptions, to think critically. But there was a quiet side effect no one warned you about. The more you understood the world, the harder it became to relate to it. Small talk felt draining. Surface-level conversations felt repetitive. You didn't want gossip, you wanted meaning. But what happens when depth becomes rare? You can sit at a table with friends, smiling, contributing, nodding, and still feel separate. It's not arrogance, it's not superiority, it's distance. You're listening to words, but also analyzing subtext. You're noticing contradictions, you're seeing patterns in behavior. And when you try to express what you see, people sometimes look at you like you're overthinking. So you stop explaining. You simplify yourself. How many times have you watered down your thoughts just to fit in? Intelligence doesn't just mean knowing facts. It often means heightened awareness, and awareness can be exhausting. You see long-term consequences while others focus on short-term comfort. You think about existential questions when others are content with routine. You replay conversations, dissecting what was said and what wasn't. And when your mind never rests, silence feels safer than shallow noise. What if your loneliness isn't about people, but about perspective? You crave conversations that stretch past the surface. You want to talk about fears, purpose, human nature, the way childhood shapes adulthood, the psychology behind behavior. But most people are busy surviving their own lives. They don't always have the capacity to go that deep. So you adapt. You participate. You smile. But internally you feel unstimulated, unmet, unseen. Is it possible to be surrounded by people and still feel intellectually alone? There's another layer people rarely discuss. When you think deeply, you also feel deeply. You understand nuance. You recognize complexity. You know that most situations aren't black and white. That makes arguments harder, decisions heavier, trust more complicated. You see the gray areas others ignore, and sometimes you wish you didn't. Because ignorance looks lighter, simpler, happier. Does awareness sometimes feel like a burden rather than a gift? You've probably been told you're too intense or that you analyze everything. Maybe you've been advised to just relax or stop thinking so much. But thinking is not a switch you can turn off. It's how you're wired. Your brain searches for patterns automatically. It asks questions, even when you'd rather not. And when you realize most people don't operate that way, a quiet isolation forms. Not because you're better, but because you're different. What if the very thing that makes you insightful also makes you isolated? Relationships can feel especially complicated. You crave emotional depth and intellectual stimulation at the same time. You want someone who challenges your thoughts, not just agrees with them. Someone who could sit in silence without discomfort. Someone who can handle abstract conversations at midnight. But that combination isn't common. So you compromise. Or you stay single longer than others expect. And sometimes you wonder if you're asking for too much. Are your standards high or just specific? Smart people often anticipate outcomes before they happen. You see red flags early. You detect inconsistencies quickly. That protects you, but it also makes it harder to relax into connections. When you can predict how something might fall apart, it's difficult to fully invest. You guard yourself. Not dramatically, quietly. And over time, self-protection can turn into emotional distance. When you can see the ending before the beginning finishes, how do you stay open? There's also the pressure, the silent expectation that because you're intelligent, you should have it all figured out. People assume you know what you're doing, that you're confident, that you're capable. And maybe you are, but intelligence doesn't erase insecurity. It often magnifies it. You're aware of your flaws, aware of what you don't know, aware of how much more there is to learn. That awareness can turn into self-doubt. What if the smartest person in the room is also the most self-critical? You may not struggle to understand others, but you struggle to feel understood. People come to you for advice. They value your perspective. They rely on your clarity. But how often does someone truly dissect your mind the way you dissect theirs? How often does someone sit with your layered thoughts without simplifying them? Being the thinker means being the processor for everyone else, and processors get overloaded. Who processes the mind of the person who processes everything? Sometimes, late at night, your thoughts get louder. You question your direction, your purpose, the meaning behind routines. You analyze your relationships, your choices, your future. While others sleep peacefully, your mind explores possibilities and hypotheticals. Intelligence fuels imagination, and imagination can fuel anxiety. The same mind that creates brilliance can create overthinking. Is your greatest strength also your greatest source of unrest? But here's the shift. Being smart doesn't doom you to loneliness. It just means connection looks different for you. You don't need dozens of friends. You need a few who understand nuance, a few who aren't threatened by depth, a few who appreciate questions more than easy answers. Depth isn't common, but it exists. And when you find it, it feels electric, effortless, safe. You don't have to shrink your vocabulary. You don't have to pretend you don't see patterns. You don't have to silence your curiosity to make others comfortable. The right people won't be intimidated by your mind. They'll be inspired by it. They won't call you intense. They won't say you overthink. They'll say you care. Yes, awareness can feel isolating. Yes, intelligence can make surface-level interactions draining. Yes, you may often feel like your mind operates on a different frequency. But different doesn't mean disconnected forever. It means selective, intentional, rare. And maybe that's the real truth. You're not alone because you're smart. You feel alone because you haven't found enough people who think and feel the way you do. And when you finally do, it won't feel like effort. It will feel like home. What if the reason you feel alone isn't because no one understands you, but because you haven't met your intellectual equals yet? Like, subscribe, and join our journey into timeless depth. Share your thoughts below.